One ordinary evening in the quiet diner. The waitress was serving simple meals to customers. Little did she know that a small decision at work could change her life forever. When a homeless man walked in, looking weary and worn, she didn't hesitate to offer him a free meal, an act she always believed was the right thing to do. But when she discovered that the man was none other than Elon Musk, the man behind multi-billion-dollar companies and world-changing inventions, she couldn't believe her eyes. Could this be a coincidence? Or was it a test he created to explore human kindness? This story is not just a chance encounter, but also a lesson in humility, compassion, and the unpredictable things in life. This story is sure to bring you wonderful emotions. And before we start, don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our videos. By the time lunchtime arrived, Lily had begun her long workday at the big street diner, where people often stopped to quickly refuel. She walked behind the diner, carrying a load of stale bread and potato skins to throw in the trash. Just then, she happened to spot a man sitting hunched by the garbage, his eyes dull, as if he hadn't found a place to shelter in a long time. In that 1 second, Lily felt her heart race. Something in the man's eyes made her uneasy. But when he looked up, she saw the exhaustion that filled his gaze, not the defiance or frustration she often saw in other homeless people, but a quiet fear, as if he were waiting for someone to push him away. Lily took a deep breath, trying to regain her composure, and smiled at him. "Would you like something to eat?" she asked gently, her voice calm and unafraid. The man gave a slight nod, his eyes lighting up with a glimmer of hope. Without much thought, Lily went back into the diner. She knew Mia, the owner, wouldn't be pleased if she gave food to a stranger, but she couldn't turn a blind eye to the man's hunger. Every day, the diner threw away so much leftover food. Why not help someone in need? Lily grabbed a clean plate, quickly dished up some scrambled eggs, crispy bacon, and toasted bread. Simple but warm meals, enough to fill a hungry person's stomach. As she was about to step outside, Mia suddenly appeared. "Lily, what are you doing?" Mia said, her face showing clear disapproval. Lily looked Mia squarely in the eye, her tone firm. "If you're worried about the cost, I'll pay for it with my tips. But I can't stand by and not help someone." Without waiting for Mia's response, Lily quickly pushed the door open and walked over to the man. As she handed him the plate of food, she felt his hand tremble slightly as he took it. It seemed like he wasn't used to receiving something for free. "Thank you," he said, his voice hoarse, as if it had been a long time since he had heard sincere words from anyone. Lily nodded gently and took a step back, giving him his space. She didn't want to make him feel watched. A strange feeling rose in her chest, as if there was something unusual about this man. She couldn't explain it, but his eyes seemed to hold a long story she wasn't yet able to fully understand. When she returned to the counter to continue her work, Lily tried to focus on wiping tables and serving customers. But every time she looked out the window, she couldn't help but glance outside. A sense of unease, hard to describe, wrapped around her mind. Why did she feel this way? Why did this man make her so restless? She glanced out the window once more and saw him still sitting there, near the trash bin, finishing the meal that Lily had brought him. What surprised her was that he didn't rush like the people who often eat quickly when hungry. He ate slowly, as if each bite held a deeper meaning, as if he had been taught to savor life slowly and carefully. Lily couldn't explain the feeling in her heart. There was something very special about this man, as if he wasn't what she had imagined a homeless person to be. Every movement of his was calm, with a strange tranquility that made her heart beat faster. She didn't know why, but there was a strong feeling that this wouldn't be the last time she met him. A few minutes later, when the customers had thinned out, Lily couldn't resist the urge in her heart. She opened the back door and stepped outside, the cold breeze hitting her face as if pulling her back to reality. But her eyes quickly found him, the man quietly leaning against the old brick wall. His shoulders slumped, his hands tucked into the worn pockets of his jacket. The empty plate lay tilted at his feet, a silent testament to the meal he had just eaten. "Thank you, once again." His voice came out, low and slow, carrying the weariness of years. Lily stood a step away, clutching her apron as if searching for confidence. "No need to thank me, sir," she replied, a soft smile appearing on her lips. "It was just a meal. Everyone has tough times." He looked at her, his eyes deep as if hiding things that couldn't be spoken. Lily felt herself drawn into them, into the untold stories. "Have you been living like this long?" she asked, her voice soft but full of curiosity. A brief hesitation flashed in his eyes before he turned away, his gaze drifting towards the end of the dim alley under the yellowish streetlight. Long enough to forget what it feels like to have a home," he said, each word falling to the ground, heavy. Lily bit her lip. She intended to ask more, but feared it might hurt his pride. Instead, she changed the subject, though the question still gnawed at her heart. "I feel like I've seen you before. Have we met?" He chuckled softly, but the smile carried more than just denial, it held a sadness. "Probably not. I'm just a nameless person in the rush of the crowd." "No," Lily shook her head, her gaze serious. "You don't speak like someone used to living like this." She glanced around at the trash and the shabby walls. He didn't answer immediately. A long pause lingered before he spoke, his voice slow. "Life has a way of bringing us to places we never thought we'd belong." Lily was about to ask more, but the sound of the back door opening startled her. Mia stood there, her stern gaze sweeping over the two of them. "Lily! Get back inside! You can't keep standing here." Lily nodded slightly, turning to look at him one last time. "I have to go now. But, if you need anything, just let me know." He only smiled, saying nothing more. Back inside, Lily felt her mind unable to escape the image of the mysterious man. She took a new order, but her mind was still absent, imagining him in different settings, wearing a neat suit, standing in front of a crowd, or sitting in a large room. He didn't look like a homeless person. He seemed like someone who had once belonged to an entirely different world. By the time her shift ended, Lily hurried outside. But he was gone. She sighed, feeling both regretful and compelled. It seemed like she had given him a meal, but had received another kind of hunger in return, the hunger to uncover the secrets he carried. 2 days later, when the sun was at its peak, Lily suddenly froze in the middle of the bustling crowd entering and exiting the Grand Street diner. Through the fogged glass window, she saw him standing near the parking lot sign, no longer a vague silhouette in the evening. This time, his worn-out appearance was clear under the daylight. His gaunt face, his slumped shoulders as if carrying the weight of the world. He looked around, his gaze not scrutinizing but searching, as if hoping for a miracle to appear. Lily couldn't ignore it. Something in his eyes made her feel a lump in her throat. Quickly, she wrapped a sandwich in a paper bag, added a bottle of cold water, and walked through the back door. The noise behind her was quickly drowned out as the door shut. She approached him, each step gentle, as if afraid to break the fragile silence. "Would you like this?" Her voice rang out, soft yet firm, interrupting his thoughts. He turned, surprise flickering across his face as his gaze swept over her. After a moment of hesitation, he took the paper bag, his hands trembling slightly. "Thank you." "You're welcome," Lily replied, a faint smile crossing her lips. But she didn't leave right away. "Are you okay? You seem like you need help." He hesitated for a moment, then spoke in a hoarse voice. "I'm fine. Just passing through." He turned his face away, as if wanting to avoid her probing eyes. Lily tilted her head, her sharp eyes not letting go. "I feel like I've seen you somewhere before. Maybe on TV or in a newspaper. You seem strangely familiar." His face briefly shifted, but he quickly regained his composure. You must be mistaken, he said, his voice low and even, but cold, like a wall between them. Maybe, Lily whispered, but in her heart, she didn't believe it. There was something in the way he stood, the way he looked, that made her keep associating him with a famous face. She smiled lightly, breaking the tense silence. Anyway, if you need anything, I'll be here. The world is harsh enough. We don't need to make it harder on each other. He looked at her, his eyes reflecting something, gratitude, but also wariness. You're kind. Not everyone is like that. He stepped back, as if wanting to leave before she could ask more. Lily stood still, feeling her heart beat faster, as his figure faded into the alley. A flash of light sparked in her mind. It was him. Could he really be Elon Musk? The thought felt like a misplaced piece of a puzzle, but she couldn't push it away. Lily returned to the diner, but her mind felt trapped by the unanswered questions. If he was the person she thought he was, this would be a story she would never forget. In the following days, Lily couldn't shake the image of him from her mind. She developed a strange habit. Whenever she wasn't busy with customers, her gaze would unconsciously drift out the window. Many times, she wondered if she was imagining things, but her heart always stirred with a glimmer of hope. Until one late evening, when the tables were empty and only a few scattered customers remained, he appeared again. Lily stopped mid-task, her eyes locking onto the familiar figure under the streetlight in front of the back door. He stood there, his shoulders slightly hunched, his eyes seeming to search for something in the darkness. Lily didn't hesitate any longer. She waited for Mia to enter the stockroom, then hurried outside. This time, she wasn't going to miss the opportunity. You're here again, she spoke, her voice soft but firm. He turned around, the streetlight highlighting his tired face. A bruise on his temple made Lily's heart ache. What happened to you? She stepped closer, her eyes filled with concern. It's nothing you need to worry about, he replied, his voice hoarse, as if he had walked a long way. Don't say that. Lily tilted her head, her voice becoming more resolute. If someone hurt you, at least I have the right to know. He gave a faint laugh, but there was no joy in it. Sometimes, what we have to endure is the price of bad decisions. His vague answer left Lily confused. But no one deserves to be hurt like this, she said, her voice softening, trying to reach his trust. He looked at her, his deep eyes filled with an unnamed pain. You can't help. This is something I have to face on my own. Then let me be here, Lily replied, her voice gentle but full of determination. Maybe I can't solve your problem, but sometimes just having someone listen is enough. He stared at her thoughtfully, as if weighing his words. Do you really believe that people around care about people like me? Lily furrowed her brow, sensing the helplessness in his question. Not everyone. But I do. A flicker of emotion passed through his eyes. But then he shook his head. You wouldn't understand. He stepped back, his eyes sad. I have to go. Lily opened her mouth to call him back, but the words caught in her throat as his figure faded into the dark alley. She stood there, alone under the streetlight, feeling as if she had just missed the chance to touch the truth. That night, when she returned, Mia noticed Lily's contemplative expression but remained silent. When locking up the diner, Lily stopped in front of the parking lot, her gaze fixed on the empty space. Why won't you let me help? She whispered, her hands clenched in frustration. A few days later, while cleaning the kitchen, Lily's gaze was drawn to the old TV mounted on the wall. On the screen, a news report about Elon Musk was playing. His image appeared, confident, neat, his demeanor full of authority. Lily was mesmerized. His eyes, his voice, the way he moved, everything was exactly like the man she had met. It can't be, she murmured, the shock washing over her like a cold wave. The image of him standing under the streetlight, his words filled with sorrow, And that deep gaze, all of it matched perfectly. She placed her hand on her chest, her heart pounding. "If you really are Elon Musk," she whispered, "what could have made you live like this?" Under the yellowish streetlight, Lily slowly walked across the quiet parking lot behind the diner on Main Street. The cold air made her shiver. But not because of the weather. Her hands clenched tightly, trying to reassure herself that this was worth it. She couldn't shake the feeling that the man had a secret far bigger than anything he had let on. A shadow flickered in the alley, leaning against the gray brick wall. Lily quickened her pace, her heart racing. When she was just a few steps away, she stopped, took a deep breath, and spoke, her voice slightly trembling. "You're not who you pretend to be, are you?" The man looked up, his sharp eyes gleaming under the faint light. He didn't answer right away, just stared at her, as if weighing something. Then he sighed, his shoulders sagging. "I guess I can't hide it forever," he said, his voice hoarse. "Yes. I'm Elon Musk." Lily's mouth fell open. She had considered the possibility, but hearing him admit it made everything feel like it was shattering. "But why?" she asked, her voice a mix of astonishment and a hint of indignation. Musk ran his hand through his messy hair. "I wanted to experience real life, not through the lens of fame or money. I needed to know how people treat an ordinary person. No titles, no privileges." Lily took a half step back, her eyes wide. "How long have you been living like this? And why choose this diner?" He chuckled softly, his smile tinged with exhaustion. "A few months. I chose it randomly. No specific reason. But you know, it's these little places that teach me the big things. I've seen real kindness. No strings attached." His words choked Lily up. She remembered how she had quietly added extra food to his plate, or simply asked if he needed anything. It turned out those small things had touched someone like him. "So, what now? Are you going to keep living like this?" she asked, her tone softer. Musk looked directly at her, his eyes full of sincerity. "No. I'll return to my old life. But what I've learned here won't be forgotten. You reminded me that kindness still exists, and that will affect how I live, how I lead." Lily felt a warm sensation spreading through her chest. She hadn't expected her unconscious actions to mean so much. "I just did what I thought was right," she said, her voice small but heartfelt. Elon gently placed his hand on her shoulder, his eyes full of gratitude. "Thank you, Lily. Sometimes it's the unnoticed people who make the biggest impact." Before she could say anything else, the back door swung open. Mia popped her head out, calling loudly, "Lily, what are you doing out here?" Lily turned around, her heart still pounding. When she looked back at Elon, he had turned away, his figure disappearing into the night. He was gone, just like how he came, quietly but meaningfully. She stood there for a moment, the streetlight reflecting in her tear-filled eyes. What had just happened felt like a dream, but she knew it was real. Lily silently promised herself that she would hold on to this moment, one where simple kindness had changed someone's life. Under the warm golden light of the hanging lamps in the diner on Main Street, Lily felt the workday slowly come to a close. She carefully wiped down each table, her gaze unconsciously pausing at the window, where the evening light stretched across the street. Mia, the owner, was still busy with the books at the counter, her busy yet familiar posture. Lily took a deep breath, preparing to leave through the back door. But then the doorbell rang, pulling her back. When she looked up, she froze. The man who just walked in had a look she couldn't forget, Elon Musk. This time, he was no longer hiding his identity. He wore a neat coat, well-fitted jeans, and his hair, now neatly trimmed, made him look completely different. Though his presence radiated an unmistakable aura, the other customers still didn't recognize him. Only Lily, with her heart beating faster than usual, knew exactly who she was facing. She regained her composure and walked over to the table he had just chosen. "Hello?" she began, trying to keep her voice calm. "What would you like to have today?" Elon looked up, his gaze soft and gentle in a way that was hard to describe. "I'd like a hot cup of tea and something special from here," he replied, his voice deep, like a quiet melody in the peaceful space. Lily nodded and quietly turned away. She couldn't help but wonder why he had returned. Why he had chosen to appear in such a simple yet meaningful way. When she brought the tea and a plate of fragrant apple pie to the table, Lily noticed that he slightly leaned forward, his eyes never leaving her. His voice was low, just enough for her to hear. "Thank you for last time. I wanted to come back and say this directly." Lily felt her nose tingle, but she kept herself calm. "I just did what I thought was right," she replied softly, her eyes reflecting sincerity. Elon smiled, a smile that seemed to erase all distance between them. He placed a small white card on the table and slid it toward her. "If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to call this number. I owe you one." Lily took the card, her hand trembling slightly. It only had a phone number printed on it, with no other information. She looked at him, her lips wanting to say something, but in the end, she could only nod quietly. Elon took a sip of his tea, his eyes still holding that characteristic gentleness. He stood up, leaving a generous tip, and slowly walked toward the door. Mia, who had just looked up, almost dropped the pen in her hand. "Lily, isn't that?" Lily stood still for a long time, the small card in her hand feeling unusually heavy. She wasn't just holding a phone number, she was holding a reminder that small acts of kindness could have the power to change someone's life. This encounter wasn't just about her helping a homeless man, but also a profound lesson about the value of empathy and compassion. Lily realized that this world could be made better just through simple gestures, a smile, a meal, or just genuine listening. Looking back at the soft light from the hanging lamp in the restaurant, Lily smiled. She understood that not everyone has the chance to see the heart of someone the world only knows through fame. But she had seen it, not a billionaire, but a person who needed compassion in his most difficult moments. The silent promise Elon left behind wasn't just for Lily, it was a message for all of us. Sometimes, the most precious thing we can give is not material wealth or fame, but sincere kindness. For those seemingly small things can create great changes. Not only for the recipient, but also for the giver. And in the fading light outside the window, Lily knew that her story wasn't just one of coincidence or luck. It was a reminder that, anywhere, at any time, each of us can be the light in someone's life, as long as we have the courage to spread kindness. Note that this story is purely fictional, a tale built on inspiration and creative ideas, and does not reflect real events. However, the profound messages about growth and overcoming challenges are lessons we can learn and apply in real life. If you find this story meaningful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss out on more touching stories and positive messages. Share and spread the message of love and compassion to everyone around you.